I remember I would just sit there and curse my genetics for my fucked up metabolism. If only I knew that I was the one causing the problem in the first place. Now, as if all of this wasn't enough to all but guarantee that we are never able to lose fat long term, that the body has a final trick up its sleeve. Do not underestimate the human body's capacity, its power, its ability to protect itself. I hope I have found you in time. I hope I can help you avoid making the same mistakes that we did. Hi guys, before we begin with what is about to be a mind-blowing video for you, just a couple of things I wanted to get out of the way. Number one, if you watch this video from beginning to end, from start to finish, you are going to take something away from it. You are going to learn something from it. I promise you, you'll end this video much more well-informed, with a much better understanding, much more well-equipped to tackle this problem of fat loss. Number two, this is extremely personal for me. Those of you who've seen my previous videos, you know that I used to be fat. I was obese, dude. And the journey of going from that to this has taken my everything. It has literally been the most difficult thing that I've ever done. And for me to now find out that I went about it all wrong, I don't even know how to react to that. Because see, when you take the wrong approach over here, when you go about things the wrong way over here, not only are you not progressing towards your goal, which is fat loss, in the most optimal way, instead you are actively, what's the word I'm looking for? Sabotaging. When you go about things the wrong way in terms of fat loss, you're actively sabotaging any future attempts at fat loss. I was fortunate that even of these 7 years, I had been doing this absolute wrong thing for only about 2 to 3 years. So I hadn't done what you would call long-term damage to my system just as of yet. I was fortunate to have found this knowledge in time, and over these past few months I've almost completely recovered from the damage that I'd caused. Within the next couple of months I should be back to baseline, as if I'd never made these mistakes, as if I'd never fucked my system up. But my mom, for example, she's been on this fat loss journey for the past 20 years now. She has been doing the one absolutely wrong thing for the past 20 years. And that's another thing, dude, that the mistake over here is not intuitive. The correct way to go about it is not intuitive based on the current mainstream knowledge. You won't really, actually, I would argue that most people without this knowledge are making that mistake. So now, I mean, now my mom has her system up long term, dude. Even equipped with this knowledge now, it is still going to take us years to undo her past 20 years of wrongdoing without her fault, man. She was trying to do something good for herself. She was taking herself out of the comfort zone and trying to do good by her body to help herself become healthier. And just because of the lack of this knowledge, she ended up messing her system up worse than it ever was. That is so messed up. That is so unfair. All because of the lack of this knowledge. I hope I have found you in time. I hope I can help you avoid making the same mistakes that we did. Let's go a little deeper into this now. Let's see exactly how your body defends itself. Let's say we have Andrew. Andrew looks at himself one morning in the mirror and is not happy with what he sees. I'm sure we've all related to that at some point or the other. Now, let's say Andrew maintains at 3,000 calories a day. After looking at himself in the mirror in disbelief, he goes and stands on top of a weighing scale and sees that he's put on quite a bit of weight. Now, Andrew's determined, Andrew's dedicated, but most of all, Andrew's emotional. He wants to get rid of this excess fat as soon as he can and decides to go on a 1,000 calorie a day deficit. He decides to diet on 2,000 calories a day. Let's see what happens now. For those of you who are interested in the biology of it, those of you who want to go into the depths of it, who want to understand more about what hormones are being influenced, how the body adapts, what adaptations it makes, I'll paste my own notes down in the description for you. For the rest of you, let me give you a summarized overview of exactly what happens in your body, exactly what this defense system looks like. Now, this defense system is a three-pronged one. There's three aspects to it. We begin with damage control. Now, what is the damage that's being caused? The body's reserves are starting to get depleted. The body's fat stores are starting to get depleted. The body recognizes that the calories that it is burning on a daily basis are much higher than the calories that are coming in. From a survival standpoint, this is dangerous. This is a threat to the body's very survival. and it treats it as such. What does the body do? The body recognizes that there's two sides to this equation and it influences, it impacts both of these sides. Firstly, it increases your hunger and it increases your appetite. So on one hand, you're feeling hungry more and more often, and on the other, when you do finally eat, it takes you to eat much longer to feel satiated, to feel full. So it is essentially pushing you to eat more and more. On the other side of the equation, the body decreases your metabolism. It down regulates all non-vital bodily functions. It down regulates everything about the system so that it burns as few calories as possible. It pushes this side of the equation to go up and it automatically reduces this side of the equation, making the deficit smaller and smaller. Andrew had decided to go on 1,000 calorie deficit a day. Andrew knew that if he could maintain 1,000 calorie deficit on a daily basis, it wouldn't be long before he shed all of the excess weight. But you see, while he may have been good at math, he wasn't necessarily good at biology. He didn't realize that his body was making its own adaptations. Even if he's somehow able to resist overeating when his hunger and his appetite are on steroids, which is very unlikely, by the way, even if he's able to do that, the body will still keep affecting this side of the equation. It will keep adapting this side to go lower and lower and lower until the difference, until the caloric deficit is a negligible amount. You'd be surprised the extent to which the body can affect this side of the equation. You want to test the validity of this? Open challenge to anyone who's crash dieted for more than a couple of months over the past few years. Open challenge to you. Open up Google, search TDEE, Total Daily Energy Expenditure Calculator. Open up any one of the top 3 websites that you see. It will ask you for some of your variables. Input the data, calculate your on paper TDEE. Compare it to your actual maintenance now. Are the two numbers anywhere close to each other? Again, if any of this sounded confusing to you, drop me a comment. I'll make an in-depth guide to everything calorie related that you need to understand and calculate. Scary, isn't it? How bad your body can fuck your metabolism up. I remember I would just sit there and curse my genetics for my fucked up metabolism. If only I knew that I was the one causing the problem in the first place. Okay, moving on to the second aspect of the three-pronged self-defense system. Once the body has done its damage control, once it has down-regulated your metabolism, once it has increased your hunger and your appetite, now it waits. Before you've even finished your diet, while you're sitting there feeling good about yourself, thinking that you're making good progress on your fat loss journey, that you're doing good, your body is in there readying itself. Your body is in there priming itself to replenish its fat reserves. Now, as long as you are on your diet, your body cannot store fat. It is already getting lesser energy than it is burning up. Where will the excess energy to store come from? So on one hand, your body pushes you to eat more calories by making you more hungry, by increasing your appetite. And on the other hand, it waits for you to finally eat more calories. Now, let's say Andrew stays on top of his shit for, again, very unlikely, for an entire month. For an entire month, he eats 2,000 calories a day, no less, no more. A month in, he finally gives in to the hunger. Or let's say a friend hits him up after a long time and they decide to meet at a restaurant. Or let's say there's an event, there's a wedding. Whatever the situation is, finally after an entire month, he eats to his heart's content. After an entire month of eating at a deficit, he finally fills himself up. Now the world would have you believe that you cannot gain fat from one meal, that one cheat meal won't ruin all your progress. But that claim has zero scientific backing. In fact, your body is designed to do exactly just that. In the primal times, after long periods of going without food, when we would finally get a kill and eat to our heart's content, how inefficient would our body be if it didn't take up all of the excess energy and store it as fat? It is designed to do exactly that. The body is not allocating those resources towards building muscle or towards anything. Speaking of muscle, this damage control phase that we spoke of earlier, what do you think your body will do to your lean body mass, to your muscle during this phase? Muscle is one of the most energy dense, one of the highest energy requiring parts of your body. Do you think the body will allocate precious, scarce, limited resources that it does not have to spare towards building muscle, towards making you stronger, something that is not vital to your survival? Instead, it will start to break down your muscle, to reduce your metabolism, to reduce the calories out part of the equation. Now, as if all of this wasn't enough to all but guarantee that we're never able to lose fat long term, that the body has a final trick up its sleeve, the final aspect to the three-pronged self-defense system, future-proofing. The body just went through a traumatic experience where it thought that it could potentially, possibly die of starvation. So, of course, it is going to be a little more wary, a little more cautious, a little more careful the next time around. So, all of these systems that the body had put in place, the reduction in metabolism, the increase in hunger, the increase in appetite, the storing all the excess calories, allocating all of the excess calories towards preferential fat gain, all of these systems stay in place till the time you reach your previous fat levels and some more. It adds this safety margin. Now it so you had started off unhappy with how you looked because you thought that you were too fat, you wanted to lose a little fat, you went on a diet. But this time around, your body will not put the systems back in place till you've become as fat as you were and some. Sounds like your worst nightmare come true, doesn't it? I'm sure you feel frustrated right now. I'm sure you feel angry, upset, betrayed, confused. I mean, how are you ever supposed to lose fat when your own body is hell bent on never letting that happen? Here's exactly what you do. In short, by the way, because in the long answer, there's a lot of equations, there's a lot of math. You're going to need a calculator. Let me just say that. But don't worry, I'm going to make it as simple, as easy to understand as I possibly can. In fact, I'll make it a point that I teach all of this to my brother, my younger brother, who's in the 8th grade, by the way. And only once I'm able to explain all of it to him, only once I'm able to make him understand every single bit of it, am I going to make a video on it. So don't worry about it. It's going to be very easy to understand, very easy to keep up. But needless to say, it's going to take a little time. So we're going to need another video for that. I won't leave you hanging though. It'll be up within a week of this one. With the math out of the way for the time being, let me share with you the theory, which is not going to take too long, by the way, because when we were doing the wrong thing, when we were crash dieting the way we were, in many ways our body was our enemy, right? So now we understand how our enemy works. We now understand what it does. We now understand how it becomes our enemy in the first place. So we can now learn to work around it. There is no way currently known to eat at a caloric deficit and not activate your self-defense system. So needless to say, the best way to go about a diet would be to diet in a way that you activate your body's self-defense system minimally. To put it simply, the extent to which your body turns on its self-defense system, the aggression with which it defends its fat, is directly proportional to the intensity with which you diet, as well as the amount of time that you've dieted with this intensity for. So, to activate your body's self-defense system minimally, you want to diet on as many calories as you can. You want to diet as slowly as possible, which is going to be a lot more difficult than the approach you've generally taken towards dieting, because how have you dieted generally? You've just eaten as little as you possibly could. You've starved yourself as much as you could. So it's easier to do that and know that you're on a caloric deficit than eating as much as you possibly can while also not touching this maintenance line. Because for this, first of all, you'll need to know your maintenance. Okay, you know what? I don't want to beat around the bush anymore. Next video, we're going to get straight to the point, exactly how to go about everything step by step. Until then, I guess prepare yourself for some math, prepare yourself for some equations, and prepare to start tracking and weighing your food as well as your calories every single day. Okay, so if you don't have one already, which I'm guessing you probably don't, get yourself a weighing scale for yourself and a food weighing scale for your food. It is essential, it is required if you want to go about fat loss, if you want to do this in the most optimal, the most efficient way possible. We need this. Very recently, I've actually understood the importance of tracking the tiniest of things. So I've really gotten into coffee making. I went and got whole coffee beans. I got a grinder. I got an AeroPress. For you coffee aficionados, you know what I'm talking about. For the rest of you, supermarket coffee is not how coffee is actually supposed to taste. Okay, I digress. See, the first few days that I tried to make, I made multiple cups of coffee, of course. Like, my coffee tolerance has gone through the roofs now. So the first few days that I made coffee, I didn't track, I didn't see exactly how many grams of coffee I was using, exactly how much water I was using. I didn't exactly how coarse I was grinding the coffee. None of it. I didn't track anything. I just went by what looked okay to me. So every next cup I would adjust something a little bit here and there, and on the second day I think I got a brilliant cup of coffee. the greatest, the most amazing coffee I've ever had. But what's the use of that if I can't, like, beside the memory, of course, beside the memory of an amazing cup of coffee that I had, what's the use if I can't replicate it? So I started to track every step of the way. I started to track exactly how much of what I was using in every step of the way. For some reason, it took me a little longer to get my perfect cup of coffee this time, but once I did, I had my perfect recipe. I had a recipe that I could replicate time and again whenever I wanted. That is exactly what I want you to be able to do with your fat loss. For that, we're going to need two things: a weighing scale and a food scale. I am so excited for this next video, guys. It is going to be so full of value. I promise you it's going to be life changing. I promise you, you're going to change your entire approach, your entire outlook towards fat loss after this one video. That's a big promise to make, but I fully intend to deliver on it. I wish you guys all the best with everything, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm sure those last few minutes couldn't have been easy to get through. I'm sure you... Okay, I can't do this. Guys, it's day 2 of recording. I'll be honest, I tried to be slick about it. I wore the same t-shirt, arranged my pillows in as similar a way as I could. Apparently, I didn't get a chance to look at my bed sheet, which is a little bit crumpled, but I was positive I would get away with it. Here's the thing though, there's this one thing I didn't account for, that I couldn't account for, which I'm sure will invariably come up very soon. And by come up, I literally mean come up. Yeah. Don't worry about it, it's no big deal, just a minor sprain to my wrist, a little incident at the gym. No big deal, should be good to go in a couple of days. So essentially, the only damage this thing caused was to ruin my ruse of making this look like a one-day video. The jig is up. Sometimes it takes me 2 days to record a video. If I'm being honest, sometimes even 3. And if I'm being completely honest, a couple of times it's taken me 4 days to record a video. It's not as easy as it looks, okay? I remember being in your shoes. I remember sitting there watching YouTube videos thinking, yo, I could do this. I mean, of course I can, but I would think to myself, I could easily do this. I remember I would scroll down to the first videos from my favorite YouTubers and I would think to myself, I could do so much of a better job at this. I can't say that anymore. My high YouTube video is out there. For some reason, it is the 3rd or the 4th most viewed video on my channel. Why are you guys still watching that one, man? Actually, do watch it. In fact, if any of you haven't seen it already, after you're done with this one, go find my first video on the platform titled Hi YouTube. I know for a fact every single one of you who sees that video is going to go, I could do so much better at this. I'm not saying that you can't. Fucking go for it, dude. Take that as motivation. If I could go from that to this, I mean, I like to think I've gotten better at it. You be the judge of that, but take it as motivation, dude. What are you waiting for? Go make your first video. I promise you it'll be the greatest decision you've ever made. Okay, believe it or not, this was not supposed to be a make your YouTube channel video, so let's get back to it.